Well, the hockey system in Canada has been upended, and it's in part to TSN journalist Rick Westhead's reporting on the Canada Junior Hockey assault scandal, where 5 players ultimately were acquitted on their charges. And Rick Westhead is now digging even deeper into the culture in this country as far down the hockey farm system as Pee-wee hockey. Joining us live this morning is TSN senior correspondent, investigative journalist, and author of We Breed Lions, Confronting Canada's Troubled Hockey Culture. Rick, appreciate you joining us this morning. Thanks for being here. Going through this book, turning page after page, it's just kind of jaw-dropping. The stories, the admissions, the concerns that you get from the variety of people that you interviewed for this book here. Do you think the country's ready for this book?
Oh, I hope so. There was obviously international attention on hockey throughout the 2-month trial in London. Yeah. It's interesting, that wasn't the only case. It was a very high-profile case, of course, but since we started reporting on this in 2022, there have been a number of other cases where junior hockey players have been accused of sexual misconduct and in some cases have gone to jail. I think the public's ready for this, and I think the hockey world's ready for this. I wanted to make sure that these stories in this book were current. And so I reached out to several hundred players, men in their 20s, who have just come out of the junior hockey system. And I wound up interviewing 58 former junior players, and many of those players were more than willing to talk on the record and put their names next to their experiences.
Did that surprise you, their willingness to go on the record? Because so much of the culture is sort of cloaked in, you're the alpha males, you're the ones that you get to do everything because you're these star hockey players and no one's going to sort of, turn you away. But is it because you think that they realize, hey, there's something wrong with the system here?
To be fair, it's easier for players to talk once they're out of the system. Like the number of guys and families I spoke to who still are within that hockey world, they're definitely more tight-lipped. They're definitely more worried about blowback, about being potentially blackballed by organizations. So there is that concern. But we're at a point now where people are coming forward with stories, and the common thread that ran between all these stories, Nick, is the players I talk to love hockey. It's amazing. And let's acknowledge there are so many people who are doing great work, volunteering and working in the hockey space. It's an amazing game. But at the same time, the players I spoke to said that despite the fact it's such a great game, there are real issues off the ice, and why wouldn't there be? When you have young boys, 14, 15, 16, moving away from their family units to live with billet families, sometimes hundreds of miles away from mom and dad, and going into a locker room where they're trying to be accepted on a team where there is players who are 20, full-grown men. Is it any surprise that the young players would feel so desperate to fit in and would be willing to do anything to make that happen?
Yeah, it's kind of like a Lord of the Flies feel, right? That locker room feel is certainly there. While your book highlights problems, it also highlights people trying to help fix the game, improve the reputation, etc. It's an uphill battle, though, isn't it?
It is, but there are examples of hope. Right. In Hamilton, Ontario, one of the examples I point out is the Hamilton Steel AAA hockey team program and the Huskies AA team. Yep. This year, right now, 16 teams in that minor hockey system are partnering with an organization called Coaching Boys into Men. And so I went to some of the clinics that coaches administered, and I watched as hockey coaches talk to players who aren't even teenagers yet about what healthy masculinity looks like, about issues of consent. And as I was watching this and just struck by how young some of these players were, I wondered, in what other setting are they actually having these conversations? Obviously it should be something that parents are speaking to their children about, but that doesn't always happen. And we know that those kinds of conversations about consent are not happening in school systems. So, at least it's starting to happen in the sports system, and hopefully that takes off.
This would have felt like probably the first question I should have asked you, but there's so much to get to. But when did you realize, Rick, that you had a book on your hands? Was it 2022 and then the reaction from that? Or when did you realize, hey, I've got something here that needs to be written, Canada needs to know?
Well, I think that once the 5 hockey players, the former World Junior players, were charged in January 2024, it was clear there was going to be a story with a lot of eyes on it from around the world. Yep. And I was committed, alongside partners at TSN, my team at TSN, to following that case through. So we knew we had sort of a story that would run through this, and that we could look at all kinds of other aspects, the commercialization of minor hockey. You know how many times I walked into rinks in and around Toronto and have seen 10 and 11-year-olds walking into a rink with 2 or 3 hockey sticks that are $400, $500 a piece.
Yeah.
Not to mention the cost of hockey skates. Hockey, unfortunately, at the elite level, is a rich family's pursuit now.
Yeah.
And we're seeing other sports like basketball and volleyball and soccer with enrollment numbers that are surging. And hockey's got to get this figured out. It's a great sport, but it has real issues it has to confront.
Yeah, and a lot of that is confronted in this book. Listen, Rick Westhead, congratulations on this pretty remarkable piece of work. Appreciate your time this morning. And I know we should mention, you love hockey. You play hockey daily as well. So we got to get that in there. Rick, thank you so much. Good luck.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Nick.
this. Thank you very much.